What up, my Wednesday warriors? We're here with another Vibrant, and this one is going to be quite unique. We've got the oh so exemplary keeper of the Templís Aquaria with us, Kalina Lux. We talked to her last year on InnerVerse, basically a year ago in February, and it's incredible how far the process of developing her dream into reality has come since then. I heard her on Crow 777 not too long ago discussing all the ways that her work is helping people and her organization is growing so that it's not just all on her, although she's definitely putting the brunt of the work in. And I'm really excited to get into it. We're going to have a lot of fun. Kalina, how you doing?
Hi, I'm really good.
So first of all, before we start, can you tell us about all the ways that, we can prove that you're not a spook?
Oh man. So I didn't even know what the word spook was. So he had to break it down for me basically that like it means agent. And this is so hilarious because it's my karma. I I'm always like the person that's like that person's an agent. They have more than 10,000 followers. They're an agent. And I admit it's kind of like a flaw. So yeah, if you think I'm an agent, guess what? My name, the Gematria, 33. And I've got Lux in my last name. Ooh.
Oh man, those are some evil symbols. Watch out. My last name is 33 in Gematria too, so I'm right there with you.
How many
I don't
followers
have 10,000 followers yet. Where's my backup, CIA? Give me some of those bots. What the heck?
We're like beeline agents.
The bots will show up in the chat to share weird Russian porn sites. Don't worry. They'll be there. And I want to say hi to all the people in the chat. We got Lateral, Israel Adams, Slick Dissident, Zoka, Sunseed, Clint, Tracy, Mario, Symbolic Studies. Good to see you, man. I figured you might pop up here. And on the Rockfin side, Kaylee and Kabir. Say hi if you guys are out there. Definitely let us know if you have questions about anything we're talking about today. Hello, James. Hello, Ariel. And yes, Lateral, this is a selenite staff made of bamboo. And I've got a new setup where I can stand and talk so I can hold a wizard staff. It's way better than the old way. The energy is great. So yeah, let's talk about Templís Aquaria. Where have you been? What have you been doing since last February when we talked on InnerVerse?
Gosh, yeah, it feels like ages ago. So I erected the temple. There's not like an actual temple yet. That's in the works. But I guess I've just really been working on the legal aspects of getting Templís Aquaria as a church, right? Up and running. And with the whole world caving in on us, seemingly, I was like, all right, I got to just study. And so I've been studying a bunch on the law series with Crow and basically every law guru I could find. And also, I've like managed to get Templís Aquaria. I've remodeled it. The remodel is like almost complete with all the things that I needed in terms of the Airbnb and the temple stay. And I've built like some really beautiful bathtubs on the outside. And yeah, I've just been having a lot of fun actually, like dance parties and having temple service, which consists of more dance parties and bonfires and waterfall splashes and of course prayer and breath work. Yeah, I've just been, I guess, really leveling up like you have also. Dang, dude, I've been listening to a few of your shows and the guests that you guys have on and like what you're talking about. Yeah.
I just talked to Mike Winter today. That'll be the next InnerVerse episode, the Alpha Vedic co-host with Bear Lando. And man, I'm now like thinking about how do I work myself up to drink pee. that's how deep he got with me. But like people are swearing by that. But that's a side subject.
All
Maybe
of
it's
you
not necessary.
Instagram boys, all of you little Instagram spiritual boys, like you're all drinking your own urine. I don't know
There's
what's
girls
happening
doing
to
it.
you. Yeah, but it's mostly guys.
Maybe it's because it's easier for us to collect it.
Maybe.
Well, okay, so we maybe didn't mention, but you're not there right now. You're actually on a trip, which is cool, but you're living in Puerto Rico.
Well, I'm in Puerto Rico. I didn't end up
Oh,
having
okay.
to go. My trip got delayed. So I'm not going to Arizona, thankfully, because I really don't want to be there. But yeah, no, I'm on the West Coast. So I did travel like 2.5 hours to my mom's house. But
I'm
yeah.
gonna just play some clips and things of the beautiful land that you're on, because you sent so much. We can kind of talk over the
Yeah.
visuals and let people see the paradise that you are cultivating. It's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah. So, like, this is the parking lot. And when we have temple gatherings, like, people will come, I'll teach capoeira, or we'll have dance parties or do yoga. And this is the statue of Aquarius that was already there on the land when I got it. There's 2 of them. And yeah, so this is the PMA agreement, which is basically like puts us in our own jurisdiction. So if you listen to that Crow episode, you guys would probably know a little bit about PMAs. And those are all our bylaws. Yeah, but this is my house.
Yeah, let's pause on that point, actually, the PMA point. Also, we talked about in the last time we had a conversation on the air how you manifested that land, and the fact that there were Aquarius statues already on it is mind-blowing for anyone that didn't catch that detail, right? Am I right about that?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, everything about it was super synchronistic, like from the fact that I was seeing that waterfall in my visions. We'll get to the waterfall. I was seeing the waterfall in my visions prior to ever finding the property, and like how it found me. I was basically washing the dishes, and this ad, which I thought was an ad, was playing on YouTube. And I was like, oh God, the song sucks so bad. And then finally, I went to go change the song because it was like 8 minutes into it and I couldn't handle it anymore. And it was that waterfall of a property. And it wasn't even an ad, like a paid ad. It was an ad like for a realtor locally. And there were hardly any views on it. Anyways, yeah, that kind of like it found me, you know.
So this sign here that we're zooming in on is going over some of the agreements of the private membership association. And we've talked about this conceptually, but we haven't really gotten into it with anybody that's executing this plan effectively. So maybe we should talk about some of how that works and why that's working for what you're doing.
Sure. Yeah. Like what part specifically?
Well, just like why using a PMA, and what advantages are there to that in terms of your mission and what you're trying to achieve, and maybe how it's helping you help other people, especially in the age of cooties tyranny, because I know that that's been a big part of it.
Yeah. So having a PMA capoeira, yeah, capoeira. It was my life for a little bit, but I live alone in the woods, so now I basically only train alone. But yeah, so the PMA, right? Because we are doing what we're doing, we have to choose to operate in the private, and the private membership association really works because individuals don't have rights, associations of people do. That's why you hear things like "we the people," because if you're just coming at this from an individual perspective, you don't tend to get respected with rights and personal rights. And because you're operating in the private, I'm basically using the same thing that like the nasty people in the world use, like all the billionaires and trillionaires, right? Those guys that are like away, like they're beyond what we have in terms of money and power. They protect themselves using the PMA. And I should have sent you this video. Next time, but it was George Soros actually giving a talk about why to use the PMA and how it protects them, and they don't have to abide by any rules, and basically they're out of their jurisdiction. So we're using the same thing that they do. So everything that they're using, we can use that against them and just alchemize it to be of our benefit. So in my case, because I was needing to write religious exemptions to protect people, particularly on the island, but also other places. Excuse me. Yeah, I just needed that extra layer of protection to become a church and a PMA.
So how's that applied to, helping people with you're able to help people with religious exemptions too, right? Because it's not just a PMA, but it's classified as like a religious organization.
Yeah. So first we were a church, right? First we became a 508c1a, which is not to be confused with a 501c3, which means you're in the jurisdiction of the government, right? But then because I am not that way, I'm a First Amendment church, or we are, right? I later became a PMA, which added just another layer of protection on top of it. Oh my God.
Okay, and
I have
you're
I
what's
just have
that?
to admit something really quick. Today, because this is going to be like past my bedtime, I did like a Gerson therapy style enema with coffee, and I'm like super jittery. Has that ever happened to you where you like do a coffee enema and you're just like, what the fuck?
I've never done an enema of any sort.
Oh, okay.
So, but I have drank too much coffee before, and maybe the effect is similar.
Yeah,
But I've
it's
never
super
booped my
crazy.
coffee. I know Snake Jones is about it. I know he's done it.
Yeah. Well, you might as well. If you're going to be drinking your own urine, the next logical step
I don't
would
know if I'm
be.
gonna do that, but I'm on the edge of being convinced to do it. You made a really good case. I'm gonna find a more of an expert to talk about it, but I wonder, like, even if that's good for you, if it's still necessary. But I don't know. I mean, how many other taboos and stigmas ended up being inversions of truth,
Yeah.
right?
Totally. I guess my only thing would be like make sure you don't have heavy metals in your body because urine is the main pathway for detoxing heavy metals. So if you've done your good work in detoxing heavy metals, then you should be okay. I've heard like a lot of good things in terms of plasma and all this kind of stuff. It's really good. I've seen with these dudes for their spiritual practice because now they're like, oh, well, I'm not such a horrible person because they're like drinking their own urine.
Yeah, that what you just said is key. If anyone's like considering that, I know this is a huge sidebar, but you want to make sure you're fully detoxed and eating a clean diet. Otherwise, what you're eliminating is not going to be something you want to put back in. Anyway, this is something you already got into your you got into on your crow show, but I want to talk about like legal paperwork and your journey to being able to provide that for people and what that means. Like that you can't necessarily, I'm assuming you can't necessarily do everything for them, but that if they know their stuff, you can give them a leg up with being a part of your organization. And how has that worked? Like maybe some real world examples, if you may, of
Sure.
assisting people through tyranny.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So basically, I look at it like I'm lending people my spiritual practice for that time frame. If they're because a lot of these people are coming to me like, well, I'm going to lose my job, they're kicking me out of school, whatever. And so essentially, I have written a 16-page religious exemption that it exempts you from the three things that we probably can't say publicly: the V, the error, and the cloth on your face, right? So I think you can say mask actually. But yeah, so our exemption basically goes through all of the statutes and codes and also a lot of Bible quotes because, like you said, we can read any kind of ancient text and then we can alchemize that to align with our spirituality because it's all going to be coded and reflected in that. So, yeah, I've written a really intense exemption that also puts them on notice at the same time. So, there's different ways that people can do it. Some people will serve it certified mail or registered mail or our mail, which is like email that's the equivalent of registered mail, or some people might just email it to them, right? But yeah, so in a real world case, I mentioned on the Crow Show that we had some people like in Romania that weren't allowed to leave the country without a PCR test. And instead, they just presented our exemption and they were allowed to. That same couple, were stopped in a mall in a different country in Europe and they were allowed to breathe air normally. On our end, in terms of like in Puerto Rico, there's been a ton of people that would have been out of work, but they presented our religious exemption. And here in Puerto Rico, they've called them affidavits. So um, we've just named it affidavit. And yeah, I've studied a lot of people like Alphonse and Jurisdictionary on the Crow Law series and perfected the affidavit in that regard. But mostly, it's just come from like my spiritual practice and translating that into beliefs and backing it up with Bible quotes. Because for those of you that don't know much about law, the Bible is where these people, these corrupt people, they get their law from, right? So I believe it was like Moses created the law for man. If you weren't pure enough of soul or whatever, according to the Bible, to govern yourself, in accordance with your highest integrity, then you were put in the jurisdiction of the statutes and codes, which would be like the USC codes and these mandates and whatnot. But mandates actually don't even really apply to us as living men and women who are able to govern themselves with their integrity. So yeah, does that kind of give you a little bit of a idea?
Yeah, yeah. And I've got a good idea of how amazing what you've been doing is, but I want to make sure everybody out there realizes that this isn't necessarily just even a thing for people in Puerto Rico, although anybody is welcome to come visit and partake in ceremony, I assume, but that you can join and be a member of this association from anywhere. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, totally. I mean, most of our members aren't even in Puerto Rico. They're in the States. We've got a few outside of, like, we've got Hong Kong, a lot of Canadians, some people in the UK, and some people in Europe. But mostly we have people in the States, and like half and half, maybe half Puerto Rican, half in the States. And the equally, right? A lot of federal workers have been getting exemptions through us. And we've even had some hospital employees get exemptions. So, yeah, I think the difference between our exemption and other people's is that, like, it's a notice, right? It's not just like, oh, here's a little letter expressing why I don't want to do this. It's a legal notice that in some cases is notarized by an attorney here in Puerto Rico. Or I just got this updated software for the website. It's like the same thing that they use now to sell houses. So, like, if you're signing paperwork for houses, you would use this paperwork or this software because it's like a legally binding contract. So, that's now able to be automated and generated right on the website. And so people can download that, put their information in, and serve it to people right away. And it's the second best thing next to a notarized document.
Yeah, we have a quick question here from
Sure.
Shannon. Says, I get the Bible quotes, but exemptions seem to apply. Yes, you have authority, but please let me be given permission to not participate. Why not an affidavit? Just curious, not critique.
Great question. It's an affidavit. It's a 16-page affidavit putting them on notice. They're called religious exemptions because instead of turning in a little letter, which would be like, please, like, give me, the authority, like, you have the authority, but please grant me this. Instead, we're saying, well, bam, you just got served with a fat 16-page affidavit. Now, if you don't respond, you know what what happens in 30 days, right? Becomes a court of record. Great question.
Yeah, affidavits that are not replied to or responded to legally basically become legal fact, right?
Yeah, so they have to be rebutted line by line in a formal affidavit format. And like no company is going to do that. That's just way too much liability on them.
Yeah, that's basically how this whole thing would come to a grinding halt, is if people actually understood the legal system. Bizarre as it is, and twisted and messed up as our system is, we actually still have all of our rights that we inherently receive from the creator at all times. And it's just this sort of like fictional jujitsu that gets people to believe that this document gives me my rights, or this politician has the ability to take them away, or any of that. And the key is to just understand the language. And that's where the trickery has always existed from time immemorial. There's always been duplicity or triplicity in language. And so that when we go face the priest or the judge, the magistrate, or the lowercase g God, as the word used to be, we would say the opposite of what we thought we intended, because we were speaking in the profane tongue and not in the priestly tongue, so to speak.
Yeah, that's a great point. And that's why we've also included, like, in our affidavit, if you write the document, you get to define the words. So every time that we write something, we define it also. And we use the Bible quotes, right, as a backup.
That is brilliant. Yeah. That's something Kurt Kallenbach pointed out. Like, I am the author, I decide what my words mean. And
Yeah.
that is a key distinction to make. But it's like anything else. You got to do math in the order of operations that is proper for it to compute the equation in the way that you need it to balance, something like that.
Yeah, and like when we're interfacing with the de facto, we have to use certain words, but like we've defined them, and we define them in our temple space, right, in the private sector, right? Because when you enter our private membership association, you get access to like more of our spiritual practices, if you will. And we define those terms when we're interacting with the de facto. So, for example, I have to invoke the legalese term of minister because that's technically what I am according to them. However, I would never identify myself as a minister. I am a temple keeper because that's like the translation. But when we interact with them, we have to speak with them on their terms. I am a temple keeper, which just means I set the space, I clean the temple, I prepare the meals, I prepare the schedule. I am just there to like observe the consistency of the people in the group, and then create a schedule around their needs and offer spiritual services in that regard, right? So yeah.
One of the most amazing and brilliant and kind of obvious things that I remember you talking about was that your organization, if you will, defines its version of prayer in religious terms as breath. And can you expand on that and like how that applies to keeping people out of the mandated requirement to wear a diaper on their face?
Yeah, so the breath is really sacred to me individually. So like this wasn't even a stretch for me, right? This is my own way of life and living. The breath had come to me really early in my spiritual journey. I was living in Korea. I was like in the mountains, pretty remote, and I didn't have a car or a cell phone, and I was just living up there. And I was drinking spring water, like collecting it on my bike in my glass jars. And I was raw vegan and fasting a lot and meditating like crazy. Have you ever gone through that where you want to know truth so bad and you just meditate so hard until you can get it, and then like finally like you start getting that like little separation of space? In that time frame, I was meditating like 2 to 4 hours a day at sunset, and this was like 2008 or 9. Um, my body taught me how to breathe, and my body showed me through meditation and sitting like how powerful and how sacred the breath was. So it's been my own personal practice. And I just interpreted it because I've been guided in these ways, right? Just sitting on the rocks at the river next to these statues of Aquarius, and Aquarius is air and water. Or like ether. I think one of your people on your show mentioned it was like plasma, and I really like that definition. Yeah, so the breath, reminding people that the breath is the gateway to all of our own personal mastery and creation, and how we can like biohack, right? Such a triggering word.
That's
um,
the word that identifies you as a spook,
oh, right. Yeah,
because
yeah.
now
Well,
you're a transhumanist.
and you know what? I think you're going to really like the definition that I use personally for biohacking, but I'll tell you after I finish this thought. So,
Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
so using the breath, you can actually biohack not just your own biorhythms, but also the quantum realm, because it's this bridge that connects the divine source of creation to you, right? And it's like it's in you and it's outside of you, and it's amazing. Anyways, so I think that that is a very popular idea. And a lot of us that are spiritually where we're at right now, many of us have naturally and organically come to the breath on our own. We see so many trendy little breathwork workshops all over, and people are naturally coming to the breath. And I think that that's because it's this remembrance and almost like a mantra daily of the divine communing with us. So because a lot of our members are so already connected in that way, that's our prayer. And when I hold temple service in person, I lead Aquária breathwork, which is simply like just a very simple meditation practice of breath, right? You breathe in and you meet yourself in infinity at 0 point. And then you exhale and you bring that God consciousness into this world. And it even works if you haven't really touched 0 point yet. Should I define 0 point, or you guys like good with that?
No, I want to. I want to define it. I want you to expand on anything that comes in.
Okay. Yeah. So 0 point for me, the first experience of 0 point was actually a little bit before I went to Korea. And I started meditating like a psychopath and like reading every book I could get my hands on in 2005 when I broke my spine. So many things changed. I broke my spine skateboarding, and all I could do was like sit on the couch or like lay on the couch and just, I was like, oh God, I got to get better because I have to take this job. And I was about to get a job teaching skateboarding. I think we talked about this, right? Yeah. So I started meditating at that time, and I didn't know what I was doing at all. I didn't have any teachers. There wasn't really a lot of like YouTube. I don't even think I knew what YouTube was. Was it around then? Probably not. In 2005?
It would have been NewTube. It wouldn't have been the YouTube we know.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, I really started meditating because I just really needed to know the truth. And eventually I began to have these experiences where I would just like expand and then like become like my room and then become like other things and then expand outward, eventually to reaching like what I call 0 point, which is an experience where it feels as though you are um, experiencing your own consciousness from the highest level of source, like of God consciousness. And a few of those experiences can really mess you up, like especially if you're so young and you really don't know what you're doing, you're just kind of driving yourself really hard.
Reality gets
Um,
slippery when you open those doors, and they tend to stay open.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it shunted me into like a 3-year downward cascade where I was devoted to trying to get my ego back. And I was like, no, that's crazy. That's creepy. I can't be like, that can't be real, right? I don't want to give the secret away for anybody who hasn't touched 0 point, but if you do, like people describe it sometimes as getting like really jaded or just laughing hysterically, or like if you're a master, maybe just living in bliss. Well, for me, it kind of shocked me, and my young brain was so immature I wasn't able to really handle that. So yeah, but from that I did get to experience this whole idea of like instant creation and instant manifestation, and you could see how all the layers of this game were all you, and how it was just so funny and pointless and like nothing really mattered all at the same time. So yeah, that's what I would call 0 point, is perceiving from God consciousness. So when we drop in to that state with your breath, and the breath always got me there. In fact, like just doing a series of breath work that I share in the temple gets you to that point, and then you can inhale yourself as a practice to 0 point. And then the trick is to integrate it and bring it into this third dimension, because the more of that God level consciousness that we can bring in, the more that we're going to be able to steer this reality. So I really think that part of what might be going on here is that we all just fell asleep at the wheel. And maybe what we're seeing is a program we designed when nobody's awake. We have to come in and do all these programs, these protocols to wake us up so somebody can start driving this reality. I don't know if you've ever watched Savon Bomar. I think he's probably an agent for sure. But he interviewed the Momos tribe, I believe. Or
I watch
did,
Seven a lot, and I don't know if I think he's an agent or not. He's definitely very savvy in terms of a business guy. But what I get from him in terms of like the intuitive level is every time I listen to him, I feel good, and there's like a positive energy I feel. So I just go with that, and the knowledge that he shares, if it's really useful on my syncretism journey, I keep it, and if it doesn't integrate, then I just leave it. But he he does have over 10,000 followers, so who knows? He fits the right criteria.
right? See, it's my karma. I'm always like, you're an agent. Anyways, so who was the tribe that he interviewed? Did you see that episode about the tribe that basically their whole job was to drive this reality by dreaming it and by reporting to the earth their experiences and holding that connection? Do you remember that? He did a whole documentary on it.
I can't believe I missed it because I've been following him for like 6 years. That sounds like good stuff right there.
Yeah, yeah. He did a couple episodes on it, and he released, I think it was him or maybe somebody else on this tribe. So basically, they're dying out and they're trying to get us to take back that responsibility. Basically, you go to a section of your land and you recall all the events in reverse order every day. And I think simultaneously with that, you also like drive reality. So you manifest what's going to come. And they're no longer holding that space for us because they're like, you guys, like it's our turn to play. Like, come over and pick up it's like your turn. It's your turn to do the hard work, right? This really sucks having to do this daily for millennia. It's your turn. And I think that we are not doing that, or we're not doing something in terms of like manifesting to create this reality. So maybe this whole global psyop that we see is just a program here getting us to wake up and remember.
Well, I tend to agree. I mean, I've been I don't know about 0 point per se, or if I've discovered the ultimate secrets or whatever, but I do know that I've gotten to expanded consciousness realms far enough to see literally myself in every tree and leaf and other person.
Yeah.
And it is kind of like funny, but also kind of like can creep you out and make you wonder what the hell's going on. And is this all something that's just going to evaporate if I figure it out? And those are scary thoughts because we have attachments to things in this life, in this realm. And I'm not really, since then, I don't really like the idea of like the ascension cults of the world that are telling you that this is some illusion to escape from, because there's so much beauty in this game, whatever it is. And we have this awesome ability as an image of the creator, if you will, to bring meaning to the meaningless and write our own story and be the author and self-author. So if you are so egoless, I guess, that you are uninterested in playing the author role, then it's really easy for the spiritual path to oscillate into nihilism, right? And that's a dangerous thing. I think that's actually kind of where a lot of the priestarchies and controlling ruling class of the world that kept higher levels of knowledge secret tended to go in a way. And interestingly, that does turn out to be akin to a program that will put pressure on humanity that ought to lead us to level up and wake up and reclaim our authority and sovereignty and self-author the realm again. So there's a lot there, but yeah, I don't even know where to go from there. This is
Well, we were
super
talking
deep
about
level.
something else, right? But yeah, I mean, I definitely don't claim to know the secrets of the universe either. I maybe a few of them, right? A couple little like nuggets, but they were scary enough for me to totally derail my whole. Like, I quit reading, I quit meditating. I was like, nope, I'm going shopping.
That's happened to me before too.
Right? It's terrifying. Like when you get to that point, you're like, whoa, no, 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 no. Right? How do you integrate at that level?
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's maybe part of the process too, is that you get shown a look through the window or the doorway at how radical your power really is. And you're at the center of this swirling fractal of nature where every thought and every intention manifests itself to you, and you're no longer moving. You're at a perfect, I get what you mean by still point, because in the experiences I've had, one of which was completely spontaneous, not even intended to happen. Like I wasn't meditating to make it happen. I didn't do a psychedelic to make it happen. I just fell into it. And um, the stillness aspect of it was maybe the most bizarre, because it felt like everything that I intended to do or tried to do or wanted to happen would come to me and just emerge out of this like swirling fractal of everything. And I never moved an inch, even though in like 3D physical reality world, body was like moving around and doing stuff and saying things and stuff was happening. It's so hard to describe. But also, the scariness of that is because you realize that, oh, I really am responsible for everything. And that's tricky, because then ego's like, well, if I'm responsible for everything, and no, not you, ego. We're not saying you're responsible for everything. We're saying the self, capital S self, the unified life force energy of existence, nature that you are, that existence and life is one. And it's just the separation into various physical vessels that gives us the concept of separateness and ego. But that 0 point that you're touching is the nothingness that all somethings come out of. And that's the area where we have full and total responsibility for everything. But it's still a we thing and a nobody thing, paradoxically, at the same time. It's where the wave particle duality collapses. And it's so hard to talk about in this version of language.
I really like what you did with that. That's a really eloquent explanation of it, because it's so hard to really integrate and to explain, right? But we actually just recently did a class at Temples Aquaria with a guy named Corey, who's in the temple. He's an amazing teacher with this kind of stuff, and he broke it down really beautifully. Also, like the paradox of like there is what there really isn't, and if you are stuck there, which I had been, then you haven't really gone past it, which is like the next level of spiritual progression. So we've got so much more to look forward to, apparently, because I haven't gotten there yet, right? All the way.
And is there really an all the way when we're talking about the infinite? I mean, existence goes on. I don't think at a certain point of being, there is no beginnings or endings anymore. That's part of the collapse of the duality. And so there's always another expression of experience because existence is all that exists. That's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, that's a good one too. So I think we were talking about how that helps people with the masks, right? So
Oh, yeah. Let's show your
people,
website too a little bit.
great. Oh yeah, there
Gosh, it's
you
such a
go.
pretty website. Nicely
Thank
done.
you. Thank you. I've been working, I'm not a developer, but I've had to do a lot of this myself because I'm calling in a developer team, by the way, like a really awesome aligned developer team that wants to help me with maybe some like Web3 apps or yeah, anyways. Yeah, but I put a lot of love into this and I'd love to show you the back end. Do you want to sign in?
The back end, I don't know if I have a sign-in set up yet. I'm so behind on things like this.
Oh, because like
But
I
you could screen share if you wanted.
oh, it's too much trouble.
No problem.
But you can kind of see a little of it. So when you sign in, you basically get like a drop down menu and you get like a news feed, like a chat, we have our own Facebook style Templars Aquaria chat. And you have all your little documents, like you can upload documents to a public portal. Should I screen share? I'd like that actually.
It's pretty easy. Yeah, I would love to see it.
Okay. All right, let me stop this.
So once you set up screen share, it'll come up as a little window for me, and I get to decide when it goes up and down. So you don't have to
Okay.
worry about accidentally showing something you don't want to.
Okay, 1 second.
Yeah, guys, hit me up with questions in the chat. We got a video Snake Jones sent in the Vibrant call-in line. I need to show you guys. Apparently he saw a UFO. Let me just do that first. Maybe it's good enough to make out. It's always so hard with those type of things to actually get visibility. But here we go. This is what Snake just shared with us. Wow. I think he's over on the Rockfin side, but I'm guessing it's this orb here on the right. He's getting buzzed by the orbs. Yeah, it does not look like a plane, buddy. Nice capture. That iPhone came in handy after all. I'm glad he didn't burn it. Okay, nice UFO vid. Happy to take on UFO videos in the call-in line anytime. Let me link that to the chats as well, in case anyone's not in there already. The Telegram group for Vibrant is where you can send us voicemails or memes or leave us questions or whatever. There's all kinds of possibilities, stuff that you want to see get on the show. And I have a ton more videos from Kalina just of her land. It's kind of ridiculous how beautiful and expansive it is. So while she's getting set up, I'll pull up more of that. And we've shown, I believe, these three. Let's check this out. There's a freaking peacock. All right. How many peacocks are there, I wonder?
I got 2. That's Shiva. He's amazing. And he's always coming inside and eating the cat food. And then his wife, Shakti, and she's actually nesting on eggs right now. I can't find her, but I know she's got eggs.
Slick Dissident wants to know from the chat, are there retreat packages at the temple? I'm guessing,
Yeah.
yeah. What are some of the packages?
Yeah, so there's right now I'm only doing like temple stays, like you book your own temple stay. And you can stay anywhere from 2 nights on upward. Oh yeah, that's his wife. That's Shakti, that's Shiva. Yeah, so you would just do your own self-led stuff, but I mean, there's a lot of things you can do there, right? Because we've got private waterfalls. Soon we're going to have waterfall rappelling. That was one of the statues that was there. And right here, you can see these beautiful tubs that I put in. Oh, maybe not. Yeah, so
Here we
that's
go.
Cascada Aquelos. And this is a seasonal waterfall. So he only flows when it's really, really raining. But I think I sent you some videos where it's crazy.
So you get to take a bath outside in the jungle with probably like all kinds of flower petals and fragrant additions to the tub, I'm guessing.
Yeah. So I actually planted a bunch of roses recently so we can have like rose baths for healing and cleansing. And at night, it's amazing because the fireflies come out. And so this is Shiva. in my house. Yeah, he's obsessed with himself in the mirror. It's
He's peacocking. What can you do?
He's so cute and so silly too. Like I never realized peacocks had such a personality.
Yeah, but what you're saying something about I already lost it.
Oh, fireflies, my bad.
Yeah, fireflies.
Yeah, so like the fireflies come out at night and I just installed a bunch of like 12-volt lights. So it's really beautiful for like 3 hours after sunset. The grounds light up in all these beautiful colors. And yeah, there's like a little nook that I built. I made like epoxy tiles. So like I made okay, right here. This is the divine feminine one. So there's a masculine waterfall and a feminine one. And this is Aquaria Falls.
The falls are the coolest feature possibly.
Yeah, like you can see this one right from my kitchen window and my bathroom window.
I think everybody agrees with Sunseed that we would like to visit here. We would love to visit, actually. This is on my list of journeys to make for sure.
Well, they just dropped all the restrictions right now. Who knows if they're going to put them back up, but to enter, you do not need to present any kind of evidence, which wasn't the case for the past 2 years.
Yeah, just wait. I don't think they're going to be able to pull it off, but it feels like the next move is climate change is the lockdown. But I don't think people are going to buy it.
Yeah, I mean, anything but this. Yeah, this was like highly triggering for me more than probably the other stuff. But yeah, so this is the grounds at night. So you can see the lights. I just had those installed. They kind of will like shift every couple seconds. And yeah, at night, it's amazing because the stars are super clear. And if you're looking for UFO sightings, well, pretty much every time I take a bath, there's activity.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, this is where I would want to be too if I was the UFO. Cities are ugly compared to jungle.
I have some footage too, but like it kind of freaks me out. So, I painted those by hand, the gold. Anyways, I planted those things. So it's fun.
Yeah, you've done so much to beautify this space. I mean, that's part of the story that is impossible to really tell. I'm sure how much like blood, sweat, and tears and love goes into this place.
Yeah, I mean, it was like abandoned for 50 years. So I've redone everything pretty much and just brought a lot of life back into it. And it's cool too, because like I walk at night on the street a lot, like not at night, but like at dusk. And it's kind of my evening ritual. And when I'm approaching my property, the night sounds are amplified like twice from all the rest around me. All the surroundings, they're loud, right? Because it's Puerto Rican jungle. But when you get up on my land, like it's like really loud. And I think that that's just a sign of good health.
Yeah, it's the music of nature. And I think I see your cats there. I remember when you first moved and just like that one hurdle and that one challenge of getting kitty cats to an island.
Yeah, that was gnarly. Yeah. So, okay. So my chickens, I'm a chicken mom of like 15 chickens, and they only sometimes will lay their eggs in the coop because normally I have to go like egg hunt every morning for my food, which is kind of a cool experience. I don't know, just going to the backyard and harvesting and like scavenging for your food. It's pretty awesome.
I'm guessing there's fruit that you can just find around, right?
Yeah, so I've got like maybe 50 different banana trees with a bunch of different species of bananas, plantains and short bananas, purple bananas. Yeah, look at this.
Oh man, it's raging.
This was an insane storm.
You got to stand under that for your karate kung fu training, getting pounded by the water.
Yeah, I think it's deadly, to be honest. It was even just invigorating
Heavy.
standing there, like that close. It felt like the water was going to come jump out at me.
Yeah, so you are using the water from your land, right? Or how do you collect water? I'm curious about. I'm sure that with everything that you're aware of in terms of holistic health, that you've probably got a pretty strong water plan.
Yeah, so actually, I've got my screen ready, but here should I just do my camera until we do that, or what do you want?
Yeah. And whenever you pull up the screen share, I'll see
Okay,
it down in my tray, and you can
cool.
let me know when you want me to actually put it on the live.
Sure. It's ready. But yeah, so we're on spring water. So we're on a micro grid because after the hurricane, if you guys probably know, like there was a hurricane in, I don't know, 2016 or something, that it was so gnarly. It was a harp induced one. And it was like off the charts. Like the winds were higher than even category fives. So it would have been like category 6 or 7 if it went up that high. Um, and they slowed down the hurricane for 3 days over the island. And I think it's because they wanted to get rid of the trees because they wanted to install the 5G grid. And they had like 500-year-old teak and mahogany trees that were just blocking the signal. And of course, they would never let them cut it down. So they had to create this hurricane. And not only that, just to terrorize the people. Because some of the people were out of water and electricity for a year. Imagine being out of water and power for a year, you know? And even to this day, like the grid goes down often. Um, Pretty much every other month, I'm without power for like a week. But I'm on a microgrid. So I'm in a unique case. This is not like most other Puerto Rican people here, but I have a small community. We're on spring water. So we collected the water ourselves and we connected our houses with tubes. There's like 3 or 4 of our houses there. And when something breaks, we fix it. And we're on a microgrid of hydroelectric. However, this one is run by the city because they want to monopolize all the power. So we still pay for this, but it's on hydroelectric. So recently, we actually, the 3 of us that are like the 3 houses, the 3 families, we are going to install our own personal hydroelectric and get completely off of their system. Because even though it's like kind of off griddy, that's still the one thing that is connected to them, right?
Brilliant, and that fits the Aquarius thing.
Yeah.
If we're talking about like watery air that's etheric or electrically charged, I like the pun Electriquarius.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I watched that episode. I was like, oh, this is so cool. My best
LC
friend here.
King, I saw him in the chat.
Yeah. He actually, I'm hoping that he'll do a workshop for Templís Aquaria.
Oh, that would be so cool.
Right? Like a hands-on one and like show us how to do the thing. Anyways.
I'll send him a
Yeah,
link on the time when call-ins start. Maybe we'll see his face. That'd be pretty cool.
that'd be cool. All right. I'm going to share my screen.
Okay.
Oh, geez. Open system. Okay. I should say allow. Oh, I see here. Hold on.
Live and direct, people.
It says I have to quit the application to screen or to share my screen.
That shouldn't be the case.
It says so, but I'll just say later. Later. Okay. Boom. Is it Denzi's? Share.
No, I'm not seeing it. So maybe there's a bizarre issue. What? Well, we don't need to get technical about it. If it's not working, it's not working.
Okay.
We can talk more about what would be there if we could see it.
Yeah. Well, how about you just sign in? You can just.
I started to sign up actually and make an account. Okay, give me a second. I'll get in there.
It'd be great actually because people can see it because it's a tricky little process when you're signing up for it because the PMA agreement is right there and most people see it and if they don't know what's going on, they're like, "Wait, a legal document that stamps my IP address?" No, but really it's like for our protection, right? Because the things that we talk about and the things that we do have to be protected under the private membership association. Because like I'm sure that you've heard about it on the Crow Law series or within, your guests or whatever, but there's, some people might say there's not, but there is definitely 2 jurisdictions. There's the public and the private. And when you're operating in the private, you're in your own jurisdiction, provided that you follow the correct protocol. If you're doing things that are not meant for the public, and spiritually speaking, I say that this is because of free will, right? Like you don't want to go and take high level stuff to somebody who is choosing to be asleep and play the game of, I'm not everything there is, right? So in order to respect their free will, you have to be in the private. So this is the PMA agreement. And I spoke about this earlier. Individuals don't have rights, associations do. So this agreement says, hey, look, don't tell the people about what we're doing or what we're sharing, our spiritual practices. Are you an agent? Cool. We're not either. And sign. Do you agree by our like tenets and doctrine, which basically just states be your own spiritual master and govern yourself accordingly.
I
So,
love the box of, are you involved with governmental structures that we are transitioning out of?
yeah, we're transitioning out of that because, I mean, look at it, it's failing and it's falling apart. And I think that this is just the last hurrah. And they know that they're transitioning also. But we personally, the people that are in Templís Aquaria, we are transitioning away from those structures because we're truly, I believe in like the core of my being that we are tasked to build the new earth. So yeah, you would just click those little boxes if you agree. Like, yeah, like don't tell people, you know, if they're gonna like share it with mass media or the mainstream or low frequency, whatever's. And then down here, it'll say, yes, that is my de facto legal name. But I put in these cool things here. So your name here, Chance Scarton, and sui juris, living man or woman, all your rights are reserved without prejudice. That means that we are in a contract and right relationship. So Templís Aquaria is never going to run over your rights and be like, you know, you signed this thing only if you're an agent that's trying to mess with us and plant things in our community or whatever. Well, then you got to pay us in silver. But other than that, we're cool, right? Yeah. So if you scroll down, oh, you're still trying to read it. I'm sorry. I can't hear you, by the way. Shit, I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry, I had myself muted. I just want to make sure that I'm not gonna, even though I didn't read every word, that I'm not gonna accidentally invoke a $20 million fine in silver.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't have that much silver. Okay, cool. I assumed so. All right. Well, okay, I'm gonna get to the other side of this, and
you can even use a fake name if you're not like comfortable. You can use a dummy account just to
no, it's
show.
fine. I mean, I've been meaning to join anyway. There's a lot going on. You know how it is.
Yeah.
Agree. And then I'll be able to sign in, probably make a password, and then we can look at the back end and all the stuff that's available, which is really cool.
I'm really excited because I've been working on this so much. And even just last night, I put up a bunch of new forums. So, like, I'm just trying to create a structure for us where we can really organize ourselves and what we're doing and our paperwork for any legal types of things. And yeah, so here in this part, you can, I'm going to text you. Actually, whatever. Just type in the word founder on tier 1 and that'll get you a free this will get you a free.
Don't abuse this, people.
Yeah, please don't. I'll change it after this. Like, please don't use it. It's like it cost me a lot of money. I put a lot of money into this, but I will give you guys a code. But yeah, so have a coupon code. Yeah, actually, let me do it differently. Here, back out of this, and I'm going to take you to a different tier, and that way I can show the features.
Okay, different tier.
Scroll down. Yeah, let's do that one. Individual, right there. Tier 2.
Okay.
Yep. And type in code meow.
All right.
Don't
it's gonna get changed.
Don't use this.
Don't use this before she changes it or at all.
You all know. Cancel your membership.
Yeah, guys. Be honorable. You don't want to have that $20 million silver fine. Cool. Thanks for bringing me on in this tier.
Yeah, this will be great. Okay, so those are just some like little announcements at the top. You can X out of that.
Okay, good.
Okay. Yeah, so if you don't worry about this right now. So here, go to your scroll up. Yep, right there. Mm-hmm. Now go to generate affidavit.
Right on.
So it's a little glitchy because it's me doing the site, right? But yeah, you can just type in anything you want here. It doesn't have to be, we're just going to make an example, right? So right in here.
Got to do a little lightning bolt symbol.
Nice. Yeah. So right here. So this is an example of
our. Oh man, I got a cool number 144,999.
Everybody gets that number.
Oh damn! 999.
Sorry. Yeah. So in this case here, you would put the name of the living man or woman that you're serving. So if you're going to do an exemption, right, you don't want to put the corporation if you can avoid that, right? You want to put whoever's in charge of reviewing your exemptions because you're putting them on notice, right? Living men and women cannot interface with dumb, or I'm sorry, dumb, like dead
Fiction.
fictions, right? The ens legis. So we can only interact with other sujurs. So yeah, you can just type in any name here. It doesn't matter. You can write test or whatever. Yeah. And
The
then, yeah,
boogeyman.
right. So it kind of got, there's the cover letter. And then you can also go, just scroll down. You can go over this later, but here, yes, boogeyman here again.
All right. We got boogeyman on notice.
Yeah. So here's our affidavit, right? It just talks about I'm the affiant, which is me, senior minister of Templís Aquária Church. And also it talks about our coding, right? Which is to tell the de facto who we are. And then it also shares, hey, but we're also a PMA. So it just added layer of protection. Anyways, you can scroll down. This is our beautiful affidavit that I've rewritten like, I don't know, I can't even mention how many times, like 20 times. And I'm actually this week, hopefully, I'm going to have one for Canada specifically. So if you scroll down all the way down to the bottom.
That is good. They need it up there.
Yeah, they really do. I'm doing one for Hong Kong and Canada right now.
You really are serving God and serving mankind. This is so cool. So happy to know you.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, what do you do when you have to do something? Like, I don't like writing affidavits. I don't like putting myself on the line. But when you have to do it, you just do it. Do you know what I mean? And this was the only thing I could do. But I want to show you something. So scroll down. Yeah, you don't have to read the whole thing because it'll take you like 10 hours. Oh, wait. Okay, so boom, it puts in your signature, right? Okay, scroll down. Okay, so here's something that I put in there basically like, hey, look, we're going to follow our own pledge. We're going to like check ourselves. So we're not, this is our version of an error, PC error, right? But anyways, you can scroll down. Boom, right here. This is your certificate of membership. So it auto generates your name, and you can do this for families too if you have the family package. And so, and anyways, so keep scrolling. Yeah. Oh, this. Okay. This is really cool. So if you scan that, that takes you to our fee schedule. So it's private. Nobody can see that unless you scan this thing. And it basically I don't even have the link for it, but when they pull it up, it's like, you have entered a contract with Templís Aquária by scanning this code, and we're going to now put you on notice that this is our fee schedule. If you try to collect bodily fluids, swabs, or use our name or whatever, or detain us or whatever, it's going to cost you all these things. So it's pretty powerful. Anyways, yeah, you can click sign, and it creates basically a legal document. It's like the next level right under notarization. And then you can download it directly, or if you don't want to download it, here's a new feature that I just put in this week. Yeah, private fee schedule. Boom. And actually, those guys that I talked about in Romania, they're the one I had forgotten that I had an affidavit at one point with a fee schedule, but they hit me up recently and they're like, you changed your website. Where's the fee schedule? I'm here with a, policy enforcer. I need that. And I was like, shoot. So I quickly had to redo it. But yeah, anyways, here, go click back to main site in the bottom left. Yeah.
I'm still getting used to this new setup. I have to the other screen. I have to look through the microphone.
Oh, no
But it's
worries.
still good. I love standing. It feels so good.
Yeah, I bet. Okay, so go to your drop-down menu over here. Mm-hmm. All right, now go to My Documents. Yeah.
Since I've generated this, I can access it from here
You can
anytime, I would
access it
guess.
anytime. Boom. Okay, so here are all the other ones available if you have, anyways, yeah, that's kind of self-explanatory, but here, go back to your drop-down menu. All right, now go to Newsfeed.
This is a really good site. Swanky.
I was so happy with it. like it had to be all perfectly pretty. Okay, so I stole this video from Lucas's group last night. But
Oh yeah, I saw this getting shared around by homie Romy. I send it to my saved messages to get to
yeah,
someday, maybe.
yeah, note to self. Right. Anyways, so you can scroll down. This is our own little private social media, and soon it's going to be like I'm sorry, soon it's going to be an app also. You can click this video if it loads for you.
Right on. Is this telling you about the forums feature here? Oh, I would need to turn sound on the screen
Oh,
share.
okay, never mind. I'll give you the video. Just go to forums.
Okay, forums. That's further down, or is it
It's
part of my drop
yeah.
down? Oh, cool.
So I just put this in last night. So we've got all of these topics, which are
Ooh.
kind of like, the basis of what I want Templars Aquaria to grow into is all these topics are like creating new earth. So, obviously we've got activating superpowers. In the next upcoming months, we're going to have a Shaolin monk. I think you guys might know him, Iso, on Instagram. Anyways, he's going to be teaching us some super esoteric Shaolin monk practices to help activate our superpowers. So we've got this little topic here, Antiquitech, Aqua Cure and Brown's Gas, because a lot of people in Templars Aquaria have already ordered the Brown's Gas and are having some pretty profound results with it. I just got one too. I added
Nice. Thank you to all the
astrological.
people that use my link to get one too. If a couple more of you get one, I can get one. So I appreciate that.
That's awesome. Yeah, so I lumped summed in here crypto, gold, silver, DAOs, and NFTs, and we've got a couple teachers that have taught classes on that. I myself has also taught one on that. Forbidden healing tech and emotional mastery. We have one of our guest teachers who actually built like this gigantic Tesla coil and uses it for healing, like scalar healing. And
Wow.
yeah, he also does some other cool things, but I cannot mention them in the public. But you can certainly join one of our classes, and if it's off the record, he might share it. It's really amazing, like next level. Anyways,
If
free
people
energy.
knew the stuff that we talked about off the record, man. That's the thing, is like, this is just the public side in a sense, or what is able to come out. But like, this is the power of the private. Is I was becoming more and more aware all year of this concept, but you're miles ahead. It's so awesome.
Well, maybe not so much so, but I mean, that's how I feel about you when I listen to your show, and I'm just like, what? Oh, you've really leveled up. Like that episode with Lucas, I was just like,
That was mostly Lucas. I just host, but thank you. I do want to ask, there's this become an instructor
let's
tab.
click it. Let's do it.
Is this something that maybe I could become an instructor and teach about, like the biofield anatomy?
Yes, please. Okay, this is one of my favorite features. Okay, now go back to your drop down.
Okay.
Oh wait, where is your? Oh, I'm sorry. Refresh your screen.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Now, because I wanted this place where like it was like a decentralized peer-to-peer learning portal. So essentially anybody can go to your instructor dashboard and anybody can go here, click on Learn Dash. You can upload your courses and set your own prices and input your PayPal address. And I'm sorry, PayPal is the only one that would do it with this, and then other members can donate directly to you, your donation fee for your courses. So you can put together all these things. You can see, how many people have done your thing. You can read all the comments that people put under your courses. And I mean, yeah, it's amazing. You can message them directly. It's really cool. And
This is really built to scale up.
I'm very
I
happy.
feel like we're just seeing the birth of huge epicness. Oh my God. Okay, anyway.
I'm really serious. Like when I say we are tasked with building the new earth and we're going to do it. You know what I mean? Like this is what we have to do. There's no other option, now or never.
Yeah, that's true. It's always in the final hour that the light triumphs, right? Here we go. Okay,
Yeah.
so is there anything else we want to look at on here?
Yeah. So click back on Templars Aquaria. We're going to navigate back on the opposite side of the screen.
Okay,
Yep.
there we go.
Yep. Okay. So go over to Portal and click on Courses.
You can see some that are already up here.
Oh, yeah. All right. So, you can just scroll through these because we've got a ton. We've got 28 courses that are live.
Wow. Wow.
Mhm.
Discharge your mortgage lawfully.
That's the girl I was telling you about.
That sounds good. All right.
Yeah, dude.
That's some private shit.
Yeah, for
in
sure.
the course.
And this is why we have to have people sign these legal documents, because you can't be talking about this stuff in the public. You know what I'm saying? It's, yeah. And you can click to the next one. So K Jungle is one of our
That might not be the place to start either, because you really need to get spiritually aligned before you start going for the bigger ticket issues, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. I recommend when people enter Templís Aquaria to watch all the videos before taking any action steps so that you can get spiritually aligned and detox the de facto. Here, click on the next page.
When you say detox the de facto, that's something I'm going to want to talk about more, because I understand the term de facto, but that'd be a great thing to define for how that the fractal de facto, if you will, because it's way bigger than just government. But this is the right page you wanted me to go to? Detoxing the de facto. There's one right there,
so
and that's a freebie.
This is my course. It's the first one you should start off with when you enter into Templís Aquaria. And it talks about in-depth detoxing the de facto. It talks about what the de facto versus the de jure is. And this is right here. Actually, let me just briefly touch on Don Juan Raphael. He's another one of our regular teachers. Between him and K Jungle, mind-blowing technology. And he's the guy that, oh shit, never mind. Join Templís Aquaria so I can talk about that publicly.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
that's got to be a little tricky.
It's tricky, right? And that's another way that I would consider myself detoxing the de facto, right? Purge the fiction, exactly. So de facto stands for the corporate ens legis. So you guys know this probably, but you have several layers of government and law. And the one that they're getting us to believe that we are operating out of and that we are in their jurisdiction, in which most of us are actually in this jurisdiction because we've contracted with them, is the de facto, which is literally the equivalent of a Wendy's. And you would basically be like having Wendy's tell you what to do. Like, you have to eat a burger every week. Okay. And you have to get your booster burger, right? So this is the de facto. And when you're in the de jure, right?
Your booster
you're mandated
baconator
to get the booster burger, right? So the de facto is essentially like a corporation. And we are answering to that corporation because we're all running around brainwashed thinking that we are employees of this corporation. And we are, because guess what? When you look at your social security card, you turn it around the back and it says for employment purposes. I mean, everything's hidden in plain sight. Anyways, and
bringing in Gabriel Slick Dissident, because he's got a lot of expertise in understanding legal fiction, and I'm sure he's probably got some great questions and directions to steer you. So welcome, Gabriel, my official co-host of Vibrant. I knew this was going to be an episode that you absolutely loved, so I'm glad to see you here. Looks like you need a second, but I'll oh wait, you froze, but there, you're good. Okay, we're good. What's up, man? Oh, okay, he did need a second. Okay, we'll see him in a second.
Okay. Yeah. Anyways, what do you want to do till then? Do you want to look at more of the site, or?
Yeah, sure. I still have a screen shared, but what you said about the basically rule by Taco Bell is what I think is the direction of this great reset, and why maybe governments are being, it feels like there's a controlled demolition of government happening right now. And they're making all the wrong moves and trampling on people's rights openly, perhaps to usher in a replacement system where the de facto is more openly accepted, and people love corpse orations, the speakers for the dead, corpse oration. Hey, what's up, Gabe? Good to see you, buddy.
Greetings. Thanks for having me. It's such a pleasure to meet you.
Likewise.
Yeah,
Gabe's a synchromystic master, and I had to get him in here because I thought maybe he'd have some insights on some things we talked about, or questions for you, Kalina, because I feel like I'm still a baby at learning this stuff. I have a foundational knowledge of like what is reality versus what is fiction, and some actionable steps to take still in my life, but to disentangle myself from things. But I'm still on the learning phase more than on the actionable items stage.
I feel like we're all taking turns, right? So like you have a specialty that I feel the same way in, and so does Gabriel, and so do we all. And we all are just kind of taking turns. That way we can come together and we can mind share, like teaching a class on Templís Aquaria, because like all of us are really at that high level in some way, right? Whatever it is your skill is. And it's time for us to learn, and we can do so in expedited ways right now because we're all pretty smart. I have to think.
Yeah. And, my favorite way to learn is to teach. It's like the best way to learn.
So Beth over in the Rockfin chat had a quick question. Where did you learn your training? This is Beth Martin's superhero in her own right. Where did Kalina do her training on PMAs?
Yeah. So I am still doing my training on PMAs. I think it'll take me at least a couple of years, but I'm with Genoa Institute. And if you look at our site, there's a free class, a Q&A with Keith, who is the founder of Genoa Institute. And like, Keith's a real endearing type of character because he's as crazy as they come, but it's given him such an edge in the world of PMAs because he's so extreme with his beliefs, which I happen to respect a lot of him because he's like very, very much about preserving his own God-given unalienable rights versus alienable, right? Have you guys heard about the etymology of those two words? I'm not going to talk about it, but look into it because it's cool.
I'm curious. I'd love to hear about it because it's come up a couple times in my life, and I've used them interchangeably. But I'd love to hear a little breakdown.
Yeah, if you're down to say like that's a tangent, I'm here for. We're in tangent land at this point. We've covered enough that people should have a clear idea of what is up and how to benefit from some real stuff instead of the fictional benefits and services that have got us all spinning our wheels in servitude.
Yeah. So unalienable, right? So I now say it in this regard because alienable rights, alienable, you're able to alienate your rights versus unalienable rights that you can't put a lien on them. No matter what you do, nobody can lien away your God-given inherent rights. So that's a little trick. I can't even remember which law guru I've learned that from, but yeah. And I do think that there is power in words. And if you talk to some law gurus, particularly like Alphonse, he's yelled at me before, like when I try to say things like understand. And I'm like, sir, with all due respect, like, it's just more in alignment with my spiritual path to say it in this way, right? Understand or versus like understand or overstand, which is the name of your show. So that is perfect. But yeah.
People think that I got the name InnerVerse from Seven Bomar, but interestingly enough, I already named it this, and I found out about Seven Bomar on the 7th episode of the show from my guest telling me about Seven Bomar. So, and then I found out he's doing a thing called InnerVersity, and so I was like, hey, there's some synchronicity here.
Yeah. Yeah. My best friend Carrie calls it soul batches. Like she's like, yeah, we're in the same batch.
Well, Gabe, hit us with what have you been thinking in all this? I know that you've got your gears and wheels turning from this episode so far.
Yeah, man, I'm so excited. Like every topic that you've touched on is like a real just a keystone for the way forward for so many people. Talking about the Brown's gas, talking about training, and the workshops, teaching workshops for people down there, and even what you were saying about purging the de facto. That's like I'm a martial artist for my whole life, and so for me that's taking off your shoes before you come in the dojo. I actually got into capoeira late in my life. In that context, I come from the shoe wearing tribe. And so I have special shoes that I have to put on.
You're an angolista, huh?
You got it. You got it. Yeah.
What's that word again?
An angolista. It's a traditional rootsy style. We're grounded. We're like, Nice and slow. Where I want to know where do you hail from in your training?
Yeah, so I'm contemporánea, and I used to be with Capoeira Brazil when I was in San Diego. So
Oh yeah.
something you might know about me, I used to be a dancer. I owned a little dance studio and meditation studio before, way back in the day. And I used to teach samba and perform samba in San Diego. So I actually went to Brazil. I studied in Rio. I studied in Bahia.
You've lived many lifetimes in one. I just got to
I
point that
know,
out.
right?
Oh
I
wow.
I mean, I'm 39, so like I lived a little bit, but yeah, like Bahia, but like a little piece of my heart is still in Bahia. And yeah, so I'm now like I'm really vibing the Capoeira Organica vibe. And there's actually a teacher here on the island, not associated with Capoeira Organica from, gosh, what's that guy's name? Meshte Biramai Yo-Yo?
Oh yeah, Betamar,
Biramai,
yeah.
right? Ooh,
Yeah.
his style is so phenomenal. Like he's got that vibe between like the Angola and the Contemporánea because he's organic. He does whatever the fuck he wants, right? He's one
Yep.
of my inspirations. I've been out of the capoeira game for a while, but recently they popped up on the island real close to me, a group of capoeiristas. So I'm like, I want to I have to
Awesome.
get back into it, right? It's been a huge part of my life, but yeah. I miss
That's so awesome. Good for you.
Here's a question from Israel Adams in the chat. Wondering if there is a way to do these things and not direct them towards the corporations and government, but rather the principality, Holy See, Vatican.
Ooh.
I
They
love
hit
that
the
question.
heart of the beast.
That's a great idea. Yeah. And I don't see why not. So I also created something called a cease and desist. And if you look at our website later, you can see there's a tab for free documents and resources. Right now, they're only documents that I've created that are up there. But in the future, if you've got a document that's really working for you, yeah, it's under member resources. Oh, you're already there. Yeah. So the cease and desist right here. And even though when Rose ran it by Alphonse and Dr. Graves, they said that there would be no benefit from it. But I personally believe that there are spiritual benefits of this because when you know their game and you revoke your consent, now all of the karmic and the spiritual implications now falls on them. So I here's the direction page. So yeah, you can serve this document to the higher level organizations, and I think that's a phenomenal idea. Revoking your consent, now the karma is on them, and I'm not sure that that's something that they want to deal with.
Yeah. Just a quick side fact, but cease and desist is 2 languages. And that's just an interesting topic to get into in law, is why is it that we accept these Roman language in our English speaking paradigm where things go over so many people's heads? Cease and desist is both. It's the same thing twice. It's just French and English. It's the same word 2 times. And the fact that they are making allowance for multilingual implications is quite a fun little rabbit hole in and of itself. But it's like, why would you engage in a ritual that is in a language that you do not participate in, that you do not even speak? And I think that's kind of part of the mind fuckery, is just keeping us feeling belittled or making the common man feel ignorant. But on that note, it is always good to learn other languages. And the more languages anybody can pick up on and learn, the less that will slip by you. Yeah.
Totally. And I feel like if Crow was talking to you, he would probably say like add a third time and make it definitive in a different language, right?
That's Clint too. Everything Clint does is in triplicate, his words.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, maybe I should put another cease and desist and pare or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's a great point. I do think that they want us confused and they want us disempowered. And that's okay, right? Because like I'm no longer in a state of mind where I find so much charge and triggering over it. I mentioned before that with I'm prior Air Force, and I was threatened to be vaccinated.
Agent.
Right? Agent.
Prior military.
I get it, you guys. I get it. It's so funny having it be turned on me once. Once upon a time, right? So what were we talking about?
The Air Force, and they tried to give you the cowpoke.
Yeah. So it was anthrax at the time because this was shortly after 2001. And I was kind of nerdy, and I worked on F-16 electronics, and I did all my work pretty quickly, and I worked graveyard shifts. So I had a lot of time to research on the back end, and there were no firewalls back then. So I had already read the Patriot Act 1 and 2 before they ever came out. I was reading like executive orders, and I was just like, oh my God, like panicking, right? And Chance, we talked on our last interview about how I was given that book that basically told me that the September 11th attacks were happening, and then they happened, and all I could see was like a controlled demolition. Anyways,
you incarnated on a mission from source.
Yeah,
it is so cool. Your life story is wild.
I mean, that's just a tiny fraction, but so yeah, I was researching, and I came across some research on the back end in the medical sector of the military files that people were dying when they had eczema from anthrax. And I, like little old me, had eczema. So I printed that out and I took it to my base doctor, and poor
all
guy
they needed was to just put some pee on it.
Full circle.
Right. So like I just printed that out and I took it to my base doctor. And one of the cool things that I've always like, people always assume that I'm dumb. And I think that that's one of my superpowers, because I was just like, you can play dumb, and in the military, it really helps because they can't stand anybody that's smart, for one. And like, I was like, hey, doctor, will you look at this? Like, I have eczema. And he gave me a medical exemption for the anthrax shot. And they hated this, and they threatened to send me to Korea, which is ironic because later on I went on my own accord. So I was so terrified of going to Korea. And this is why I really do think, like, on the quantum level, if you're scared of something really badly, it's going to come back. Like, on the me level, on the 0 point level, I take full responsibility for this whole global psyop currently, because I was so terrified of getting force feed, because they were always threatening me. They would like, be like, have me on the flight line, like, you're going to get picked up by an F-16, and once you get there, you're going to be, you will take the thing. And I just stood by my little medical exemption, like, I ain't getting it. I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm not getting it. Anyways, and I did protest it. I stood up in front of like the whole squadron and was like, oh, hi, doctor. Yeah, because I was like, they brought in a specialist, and I was like, how many years has it been out? Like, oh, that's cool. Like, oh my God, like, what about this? Do you have any tests that go on beyond that? Oh, wait, so you need 30 years to really actually look at the long-term effects? Oh, so you don't have those? Right? And like, they got really embarrassed, and the commander was like, oh, you're a pioneer. Anyways, so playing dumb has been a skill that I have had, and I'm grateful for it. But flashing forward, that trauma never really cleared. Why are we talking about the Air Force?
It's a good story. I mean, I'm just here for it. I don't know how we got here now, but
there was a point to it, but maybe when I watch this video later, I'll remember it.
But you said you went to Korea on your own?
Yeah. I ended up going back there, and I taught English there for a year.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, much later, but I don't know why we were talking about that. It was a good point, but I will say that because of that, I was perfectly aligned for this current PSYOP, right? And I think that that's why like this mission was so much more impactful for me, because I was clearing my own karma, clearing the own codes in my biofield.
Nice. Something that I've found, and there's more to find, there always is, but I found an interesting passage in the Old Testament that is about a trade agreement between two warring factions that involved castration of the entire city, just so that the kings could intermarry. And
Wow.
what I found really interesting is that they set up castration stations at the gates of the city, And this just rings an incredibly similar tone to me to the Patriot Act, and everybody who goes to the gates of the airport has to get strip teased and show a little skin and get people copping a feel. I mean, it's so similar that there is in order to keep keep people in power, that the common person has to demean themselves or compromise themselves, and we're all in this together, kind of building to that collectivism. And that's Genesis 34, if anybody wants to read up on it. But I just find it so interesting. And back to that question about why don't we go straight to the Vatican and put them on notice? That would kind of be a fun experiment to maybe not go for the kill shot right away. Just kind of feel out what where your mail lands and get some correspondence going and see, what the ranks of the powers over there in that sovereign territory of the Vatican would be. Because, you're a temple, you're a religious organization, it makes sense to kind of reach out and feel out the competition, so to say.
Yeah, I mean, we're so completely different. I feel like all of those, I would call them de facto religious organizations. From my perspective, they're very aligned with the epoch of Pisces. They had their time there, and
Nice.
now there's a whole new movement and everything going on. And I spoke about this briefly with Crow, but it's that of decentralization, and not necessarily from a crypto standpoint, but from a nature standpoint. Because in nature, that is the whole pulse of it is decentralization. And I firmly believe in my heart and soul that the first thing that we must do is decentralize our spiritual practices and our religions. And that's why Templís Aquaria and the Vatican would never even, we're not even in the same echelon. We're not even in the same world. We are very much bifurcating away. And those of us that resonate with what we're doing in Templís Aquaria, they know that they never have to go through somebody else to access their spiritual mastery, their spiritual power, and their God-given unalienable rights. They are the master. And this is a paradigm switch that I believe is essential right now, because if we're not operating with each person, if we're not looking at each person and including the sheep, right? I'm sorry, but including whoever, right? We have to really see their mastery, and that they made the choice on some level that we can't perceive to go down and descend and play the game of forgetting who you are, while we have chosen with every fiber of our being to orient our compass to the new world. And the new world might, in some cases you could call it heaven on earth or new sovereign earth. And I use the word earth. I spell it AERTHE, because it's air and ether, which is corresponding to the age of Aquarius. So I was just guided to shift it in this regard. And I do think that there are worlds splitting apart, and it's our time where we get to live our new life now. We get to create, because when you've touched that 0 point so profoundly that you affect everything around you with just a thought, boom, everything happens that you think about. It's our responsibility. And also, I think a lot of us that are awake and aware at this moment, we're really we have signed up for a sacred mission to dream in the new world and dream in the new earth and create that structure and framework for those people that are still kind of barely coming out of there, but they have chosen to come to the new earth, but they're not able to do it yet because they're stuck in the de facto. And that's why detoxing the de facto is so important on a legal standpoint, of course, right, with the terminology and the etymology, but mostly on the spiritual level, right? I spoke about on Crow how every time I rewrote the affidavit, I was rewriting my own belief and my own attachment to being governed over and having to serve some external master. But now I know that the most important part of detoxing the de facto is actually getting our mind sight in our so we can align our heart and our mind and our energy fields and our soul and our spirit, knowing that nobody has the right to dictate to you what you do with your body and your life. Nobody, right? That is solely under the jurisdiction of the Most High. And now this comes with massive, massive responsibilities, right? Because when you're operating at that kind of a level of freedom, you find that the more freedom you get, the more you actually have to self-govern. Because in the Bible, I'm pretty sure it says, if you are part of the sacred, then you're only subject to God's jurisdiction. But if you're in the profane, then now you have to take the stuff that Moses gave out and go live in the statutes. And that's not for us. We are now, like, the more that we have the integrity over our own selves to govern, and govern when nobody's looking, right? It's just you, your higher self, and the divine. Like, that is your channel of who you answer to. So yeah, it's this whole new model, where I do think that there is value in serving the Vatican with just a notice, like saying, hey, look, just so you know, spiritually and energetically, I do not consent to what you're doing. I revoke my participation in this. And now I think that it would be enough to allow some major shifts, because they know the game, right? They know that this whole black magic, world that we live in is based off consent and tacit acquiescence.
On this subject, okay, so first of all, I just got to reiterate what you're saying. Detoxing the de facto, cleansing the parasites from your own body, removing yourself from the jurisdiction of meddling middlemen. It's all the same thing. The world's middle management and all of these like power tripping bosses, if you will, that are really just underlings to something above them, and it's infinite. It's demons all the way down, if you will, whatever, all the way down to the biological, molecular, parasitic, bacterial level, and then all the way up to the big boss fictional archons that are served by the de facto authority systems of the world. Now, all of that is like it is all one path. So if you feel you found yourself stuck in one part of this path, like, I don't know how to get out of my subservience to this particular authority system, or my belief that I need this particular job, or my difficulty in attaining resources outside of whatever thing that I know isn't really aligned with me spiritually, then go at it from internal level. Go at it from the parasite cleanse level. Go at it from the detoxing your organs, heavy metal detox. Go at it from energy healing, energy balancing, getting yourself emotionally purged, if you will, of the heavy karma of trauma and past mistakes and things that we carry around in our field without being aware of it until the time comes that we make ourselves aware of it. So that's why the service aspect of a temple is so helpful, that you can create a space for people to get clear enough to maybe find the 0 point themselves, which is crucial and key. But my point of all this rant is that if you're stuck in one place, that's why we live in this amazing hall of mirrors of a myriad of different reflections of the one. So that if you get stuck in your story, there's always a different path that you can take that will actually affect you over here and over there, right? So I wanted to say all that before I ask you this question. You're talking about revoking consent, serving the de facto masters of that system. I believe I've heard you tell stories like this before. I can't remember where, or if it was just to me or what, but have there been examples of a time where you revoked consent in some way with some kind of declaration, something in the public, and you saw an immediate change in the outer reality world that maybe isn't a one-to-one, like you can prove I did that, but from your position at the cockpit of your holofractal mandala of the life experience that it was. Is there anything like that we can touch on? Because I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, actually, there's been two. I've now written 3 cease and desists, and the first one was a silly one I did on Facebook to Monsanto, and I talked about this on the Crow episode. But yeah, like, I just wrote a cease and desist, and I was like, Monsanto et al. And later I realized that it worked because he sold his company to Bayer. And I learned from Cal Washington that if you do a cease and desist proper, that what they usually will do is they'll switch ownership to get out of it. And that's how they abate it. And now I didn't know that. And I actually caught on later, like much later, actually, like this year, that might have had something to play into it. And then also I did one last summer here in Puerto Rico. I did a cease and desist to the Puerto Rican governor and a couple like of the senators. And within 5 days, they revoked all restrictions. And
Awesome.
and recently here we sent out, like about a month ago, we sent out another cease and desist to the Puerto Rican government. And now we have no restrictions. Now, I don't know if that one is particularly aligned because it did take longer. And it also, I think it's in alignment with their new narrative, right? Obviously. But
what we're talking about here is like quantum paperwork.
yeah, they're quantum paperwork, and these things have an effect, I believe, on the quantum realm because we're all so integrated and we're tied into each other, and we are also those entities, and in some way, right? We are the parasites, and we're all of it, right? When you look up, when you zoom, when you take the elevator to the highest levels of your consciousness, right? You're like, wait a second. Well, this is
Fred from Scooby-Doo pulls the mask off the villain, and it was me the whole time.
exactly. Yeah. So you can kind of see how this works, right? And so I think that the most critical shift that we can do to get ourselves out of this mess that we see globally is to shift from fighting the old and to building the new, right? And start getting our whole self. Like if we're Russian nesting dolls, right? We have to start looking.
They can't be Russian anymore. It's not woke anymore to say Russian. They're Ukrainian nesting dolls.
Ukrainian nesting dolls, right? Yeah. Adorable little set of blue and yellow Ukrainian nesting dolls. We have to zoom out and be the biggest one and the smallest one at the same time, and everyone in between, and be integrated. One of the things that I recently discovered because of our last on Sunday, we had a guest teacher in Templís, Aquária. He really helped me integrate this split. I was only able to operate out of the largest nesting doll or the smallest nesting doll, right? Which would be like my little ego or the end all be all. And really, we need to start integrating that and be all of those at the same time, because that's when we can start really creating magic and dreaming ourselves into the heaven on earth that we deserve and that is our birthright. So yeah.
And what you're talking about is really the collapsing of the illusory separation that we feel when we localize our consciousness just in one layer of our onion, if you will. That we are all these rings, all these different bodies, from the astral body to the soul level body, all the way up to the complete source consciousness, unified field, 0 point body. But we mostly just operate in this physical body, and then sometimes like pop up into the mental body. Some people don't even make it there. And then maybe when we're sleeping, we hit into the astral. But this is an interesting subject because I think that the true initiation in a non-corrupted sense, in a non-controlled de facto sense, the real initiation process, which can only really be led and guided by one's own spirit, one's own higher self, is this exact thing, that it is a step-by-step process unique to each individual that helps them first. Maybe they touch the 0 point and then become aware of it, and then maybe even localize to that for a temporary space. But you also have to like figure out how to operate from all those levels at once, which does collapse the paradox of things here. So this is cool that this is coming up, because yesterday I did a group oracle card reading session, and I got into gene keys on the I Ching number 22, which is about grace. And I mostly only talked about the shadow of that particular factor, which was dishonor, which is perfect for the concept of getting yourself out of legal servitude. And then the gift of this is graciousness. But I didn't really talk a whole lot about the city level, the massive spiritual superpower, God mode level thing, because it's complicated, and I didn't really want to add another like 45 minutes to an hour onto the video. Plus, I didn't know if I was qualified or ready to even speak about it, because I'm very early in the process myself, in my opinion. But what you're describing is exactly a follow-on from this solo live stream I did yesterday. You're talking about the city of this particular gene key of grace, which is really a linchpin that connects all the other hexagrams, or the 64, the 8x8, all the different configurations of consciousness that we can articulate an experience in this particular infinity loop. So cool. It's cool that this comes up.
It is super cool. It's so, and this is another proof, right, that we're all so much more connected, because what you're sharing is simultaneously helping me integrate, which I just had a class, like how random, right, where we were able to, this was a wound I had of not being able to integrate the two. It was either extreme or here. And this gentleman, Corey, who is so lovely as a human being, spoke on it, and now it's helping me integrate. And then your words are helping me, and I'm helping you, and we might be helping others. And we're all kind of like quantumly entangled as different aspects of self. As we're taking ourselves through this collective dream, we're shifting from nightmare, and we're waking ourselves up to take us to like the sweet dreams and the heaven, right? And that little like nectar that we all deserve.
The lucid dreams.
Nice. The definition of, well, my father's definition of grace is a gift that you do not deserve. And that's an interesting thought experiment. I meditate on that quite often, but it makes me kind of think about that purging of the de facto. You know, it's what, could you speak on that maybe a little more? Because I think of it as like giving yourself grace to, you know, forgive whatever reality you were attached to before and give yourself the gift of moving on.
Yeah, I just want to tack onto that the universe is a big redemption story.
Right.
When you think about it, so forgiveness is intrinsic to the field that we exist within.
Nice.
And it's a belief that separates us from the feeling of worthiness to be forgiven for this, that, or the other thing. But there will be a point, whether it's in this life or after it, where the slate is wiped clean again, and we get to start over with only our gifts and only our strengths, and let go of all the crud and accumulation and the dirt on our filters. So anyway, take it away, Kalina.
Yeah. So I think that is what we're being given right now, is that opportunity to detox the de facto. So if I were to like talk about the de facto, not from a legal perspective, because that's pretty obvious. I think everybody here knows what I mean when I talk about on the legal aspect. From the quantum aspect, it's the template that we get given when we are born, right? So we come into this life and we're given this template, and it's the general de facto template. And we have to detox that. And that template says you have limitations. You can't do this. You're, of course, you're not infinite. Of course, you're not powerful. Of course, you're a sinner. You're horrible. You're all these things that you should be shameful of. And that's interesting with the definition your father gave on grace. I don't know if I resonate fully, but it's definitely something to ponder on and really like discover. Right, coming up for a reason. So in our case here, when I detox the de facto from my mindset, it is detoxing what I've been told to believe. Because right now we have to give ourselves that redemption. Right now we have to wipe our slate clean. How else can we really realize that we are like angelic at our heart and soul? We are pure. Yeah, we're not like perfect by any means, but we are pure, and we deserve to live in a beautiful paradise, every one of us. And I mean, I think there's so much I could go into with that in my heart. I really believe that we all deserve abundance, and that we all deserve community, and we all deserve self-love. But it's our own aura, right? We played the game, we dropped in, we forgot, we played small, we have all these limitations that we chose to take on. And they were swirling in our electromagnetic, toroidal field for so long. And now we're no longer wanting to play that game. So we have to detox that. The de facto is what's not true. We have to detox what's false. And all of that's false.
Nice.
Isn't that word deserve? Deserve? It's kind of a weird one. And maybe that idea of grace is a gift that we don't deserve could just apply to like eliminating that very concept of, am I worthy or not? It's not, it no longer is part of the question. Every being, it can receive forgiveness or redemption or purification. And in fact, I think that the only thing that makes us different than the rest of nature, which is on this sort of upward spiral of expressing the epitome of what it is in every moment, is that we have this crazy monkey wrench called free will that lets us decide whether or not we deserve it. and then thus reject the gift of grace that is always available.
Nice.
Yeah. Go ahead. You go.
Oh, well, one thing that's been on my mind a lot lately is that idea of like, love thy neighbor as you would love thyself. And I see that natural dynamic of humanity taking a lot of hits, and there's, for a very long time, it's been quite in style to, kind of play that crabs in a bucket kind of role where you, instead of lifting yourself up, you pull your neighbor down, and I think that the more self-love we can all spread, that needs to be the new variant, self-love. And then we can, lift everybody up out of the crab bucket, and we can go play some samba on the beach.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And honestly, this is so quantum because I've literally been like, I don't even have words because it's so you've said words that I've been like really focusing on. And even with the crab scenario, I just learned about that in regards to some people. Anyways, I'm not going to get into that, but it's really quantum. And I see in the chat now, I finally learned how to turn on the chat. Quantum Carrie, that's my bestie, by the way. She's in the chat. She's blowing it up.
Shout out Quantum Carrie.
Yeah, she's epic, dude. She's got that whole Waheguru thing going on. Anyways, right. Yeah, like she's always on point, man. This girl does etymology like none other. Anyways,
right.
Yeah, I do think that the self-love, wouldn't that be an amazing variant, right? And like at the beginning of the PSYOP, I talked about like horizontal gene, whatever, like spread with this, because they were trying to say that, oh, this is so bad because of horizontal, whatever. And I kind of broke it down in like in terms of energetics, right? So self-love is addicting. And the more that we really, and addicting, but I'm sorry, what's the word where it's
infectious?
Thank you. Gosh, it's like wiped out of my brain, right? It doesn't exist. So it is really contagious. And my energy field, when I realize, wait, I'm divine. I'm not perfect, but I know my heart, and I know that I'm a good person, and I know that my intentions are pure. Just by being around other people, we literally can lend them our biophotons for a tiny frame, for the time that we share together. And then poof, they get the activation code for what that feels like. And then they can turn themselves on by, activating those neural networks. And this is my definition of biohacking for whoever wanted to ask earlier. My definition of biohacking is simply realizing that the external is only a reflection of your internal state. So if you want to change the outside and you're seeing a wound, like in my case, I think this is why I brought up the Air Force. I saw that there was a direct correlation to my trauma, and it was a big charged trauma. And I needed the whole 2 years to really get over it. And the quickest thing I could have done to stop this in my personal reflection would have been to address that wound a lot quicker. Instead, I went through the whole gamut of fight or flight and all the reactions. But I eventually got to a point where I was no longer scared of it because I know my authority and I know where I stand. Whereas is the free will, like my free will says, I'm sorry, that's not for me right now. I chose this. I'm going over here. And now we're getting to rewrite those light codes. And that's what I believe biohacking is. And like Chance said, you can biohack and detox the parasites or whatever in your body and see that direct reflection and correlation on the external. That's biohacking for me, is biohacking using my biology to hack this reality in this quantum world. So yeah, and it doesn't have to stop at biology. It can be at emotions or trauma, basically any photons that we have. So yeah, that was my definition for that lady who called me an agent.
I got one question that came to mind, and I don't know why this came to mind. But do you guys by chance have a 3D printer at the temple yet?
No, I don't, but it's been on my mind because I live so far out there and I live like alone with my birds and my cats, and
Yeah.
it would be nice because I don't want to go into town. But the thing is that we are tasked with going into town. Why?
Mhm.
Because our DNA leaves little light code traces for up to 6 months everywhere we step. And when people interact with those fields, guess what? They get to temporarily borrow your consciousness, which is amazing, right? So we should be going out into public, and those of us that are, conscious to some degree or whatever, we should be out there being of service, right? We should be out there lending our spiritual practice and path to people should they choose.
Nice.
I love that. Yeah, I'm completely with you. I think you can't really overstate the level of permission that other human beings might feel to be themselves if they see you being yourself. That is what, to bring it back to the idea of self-love being infectious, I think that's what it is. You're giving other people permission to love themselves when you love yourself. And I think maybe even the only type of love that exists is self-love. Once you recognize the 0 point of the unified aspect of all life in this fractal, then what are you doing when you're trying to love other people? Well, you're trying to basically make yourself feel better about the fact that you are not getting the love. Like we try to give what it is that we want to receive a lot of times. And what we really ought to be expressing is care. And that's what is like possible. When we love ourselves, then it's easy to care about other people and everything, because the thing that we're loving is also in everybody else, the I am. But whenever we just put others first and we fall for this messiah coined it. That's a new one. Messiah. That's what it is. I've been calling it like savior programming, but no, messiah. That's the one. Because the messiah works in many ways. First of all, it gives you the belief that like you want to sacrifice yourself for the collective. That's why you need this cowpoke, because you're doing it for everyone else. And my face diaper protects you, and your face diaper protects me. And all that BS, and how we got that from the inversion of the sun god religion of old in the form of the redeemer. We're this is how it always works. It's the externalization. The dark occult always externalizes what's an internal process. And we're talking about redemption as intrinsic to the universe, but it's your story. It's an inner redemption. You got to be your savior. You got to be your messiah, if you will. And you do that by loving yourself so radically and putting yourself first so much that is what imprints on the quantum level, because this body is the image of the universe. And if it's receiving full, unfiltered, no middleman, no parasites or vampires skimming off the top, pure 100% grade A self-love, then it's literally like the universe is getting the energetic infusion that you're giving your body. And that's what causes that's why we have this idea of manifestation and law of attraction and all that, but it doesn't really work if you don't put the capital S self and the I am at the center of everything, where it belongs. That's a good rant. Oh, Kalina.
Yes.
I know they're not supposed to use the codes that we saw earlier, and they're going to change those.
Please
But
don't, you guys.
Kara wants to know if you're going to share code for your site that is for the
Sure.
listeners today.
What do you want your code to be? You choose.
My code?
Like for your peoples.
For my people? Just, it's easier than typing InnerVerse, so could it just be chance?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or is that good, or would you rather it was InnerVerse?
No, I don't care. It just doesn't. I mean, I was using meow, right? Like,
let's go with chance, because it's fewer letters.
All right, so it's gonna be chance. I have to write this down, otherwise I'm gonna forget. Hold on.
Please do, yeah.
And if I forget, then chance code. Okay, I'll do that tonight. Like after we get off this, I'll do that immediately.
You are such a hard worker.
It's crazy because like
past your bedtime and everything. Good thing you had that.
I don't even realize that, right? I'm still kind of a little bit jittery, but it's easing a little bit. But yeah, I've been really in love with working, and you spend so much time alone out there, especially like I go weeks sometimes without seeing anybody else or speaking to anybody else other than my animals. And, you know, you do get to feel this sensation of loneliness. And Carrie and I were actually talking about loneliness earlier today. And no, chance isn't case sensitive. It'll just, upper, lowercase doesn't matter. Sorry. I just saw that.
I'm
Anyways,
not sensitive about cases.
so with loneliness and this opportunities to be alone, you really get to like be with the divine and have both of you get to live in the paradox so much more, like where you're you and that's you, and yet it's you and this is not you, right? It's this whole kind of it's really rich and complex. And I've spent almost 8 years of my life like single and mostly alone, and now being in the woods, right? It's such an amazing time because now I get to be pure service. I get to like stay up late and work because I don't have anything to answer to. I don't have children, right? I don't got any of that. And it's really a love relationship when you get to be of service and it's your mission and it's aligned. It doesn't feel like work, right? You guys know what that's like. You're just like, I gotta do it now.
Yeah, I totally know what you're talking about. That's it's like it's the idea of vocation rather than occupation, and transcending the recreation occupation trap, mouse, hamster wheel, whatever that de facto is given to us, where it's like, okay, you're going to work for us for 8 hours of your day, but then you get 8 hours of play, but your play is actually programming for you to be a better worker for us. And you know, here's these awesome video games that are actually just like a different type of job. You know, you're collecting money and going on quests and programming yourself to believe that a hero is a mercenary that will do anything for some gold coins. But the vocational is where it's your occupation and your recreation fused into one, that it is what you most love and you're most passionate about. And you're able to use that to draw in the resources that you need and help others at the same time. And it's like, again, collapsing a duality and living in a paradox, because it's still work. Still got to do stuff. But what I have noticed is that when you do what's right for you, like say, for example, if I had some work to do and it was going to go into the evening and I decided to just stay home and work and grind through it and skip exercise and skip doing things that are good for my body, I might get half as much work done in twice the amount of time as I would if I went to the gym, spent a couple hours there, and then came back. And it's a mystery how and why this works, but I would get twice as much work done in half the time after I did the right thing to initiate the flow state of energy in my body. So that's part of it. But we're running out of time here. I'm going to announce too that Jim over at Weaving Spiders Welcome is hosting Flow State after Vibrant. That's on Weaving Spiders Welcome on YouTube. It's where we get together. We put our cameras on our artwork. We read books to each other and we activate the left brain, right brain at the same time, listening and crafting. We talk about what we're reading. It's a really good time. We'd love for you guys to come listen or join us on the Zoom call. And if you're listening, make sure you bring your pencils and your paint or whatever it is you like to make. So that's on Weaving Spiders Welcome, like every week. This has been an amazing Vibrant, like unbelievable. I knew it would be good. I had high expectations because I know what you're up to. So thank you for sharing all of yourself with us today and what you're able to make public. And Gabriel, as always, good to see you here, buddy. You guys
Thanks for the invite.
You guys have the floor for anything you want to say in closing with no rush, but you have all my gratitude and thanks. And I know the audience is probably quite astounded as well. This is one to return to and listen to again.
Oh man, I'm glad that you feel like that. I feel like I've been a little scattered, at least in the beginning, but it's always a pleasure to reconnect with you, Chance. And every time I see what you're up to, I'm just blown away also because you're leveling up. And I don't think we get to see it, right? When we're leveling up, we really can't see that we're leveling up. And Gabriel, you just have such a beautiful energy feel to you. You're just like radiating this like comforting, warmth, and love. And you really helped ground me actually today. So I'm grateful for you both.
That's what I use him for too. Gabriel's my spirit animal.
That's amazing. Yeah. Thank you guys for the kind words and for having me. And yeah, I'm grateful.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's an absolute honor to speak with you. And I hope, one of these days, some of us can come down and partake of the beautiful temple vibes that you've put together. Maybe we'll install your 3D printer for you.
Okay, just please come. I want friends to come and hang out with me in real life. It would be great, right?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I have beautiful friends here locally, but it would be nice to see some people that are like, on the level too.
Gabriel,
Right.
I'd love to make that journey with you, bro.
Yeah, man, we should team up and go down. We could, I would love to get into on some of the capoeira culture. Maybe we could like make some birimbau and some kashishis and.
I got them already. I got a birimbau. I got a
All right.
pandero. Yeah,
All
I got
right.
things that can be an atabaki, but yeah, like for sure. And that's one of the cool things we do. A lot of drum circles with our temple service. Like we have nighttime fires, and Puerto Ricans are super good at percussion instruments. By the way, they're just like fire at that. And like having like introducing the capoeira culture with them and kind of sharing and stuff. It's been awesome, but. Yeah, come through. The temple sleeps 10 currently. I'm hoping to expand. So maybe not this year. This year is going to be everything landscaping. Next year, I'm hoping to have, manifested a beautiful open air studio on the river island with like, fold down little beds so we can have communal sleeping and a ton of people. Yeah, Israel, you want to relocate here? Let me tell you. Okay, in closing, before we go, did you know that in Puerto Rico, there is a law. If you find an abandoned home, you just register it with an office called CRIM and make a couple repairs, change the locks. And if nobody contests you, you own it within a certain amount of time, 1 year to 10 years, depending on the location. Did you guys know all around me is not only are we on spring water, not only are we on hydroelectric, but also we have the most fertile soils on the island. And there's a ton of abandoned houses there. Nobody wants to live there because there's no cell signal.
Oh man, goodbye America.
And now we can build all the things I want to build. Oh my gosh, I have visions. I got ideas for how we can expand. So yeah, come be my neighbor.
Awesome. And next time we talk, I'd love to get more into the healing arts aspect of the temple offerings. But there's only so much time in a night, and then we got to leave room for Flow State over on Weaving Spiders Welcome, which is also really fun. And thanks everybody for tuning in. This has been so much fun. Huge honor to even know somebody that's this deep into the creating of the new earth. Like, wow, this is, you can't see yourself, when you're in your own skin suit, but man, you have got some serious superpowers, Kalina. What a life. What a life. You're going to watch your life review movie someday if you don't just like transcend into immortality without dying. And you're going to be like, man, this was a badass movie. I'm really good at this game. So yeah, thanks for being here, everybody. Love you all. And also got to remind you, whenever I remember to, hit me up for sound healing, art technician stuff, oracle card reading, whatever you want. Chance at InnerVersePodcast.com. Would love to work together. And I'm definitely going to be looking into making some courses or maybe like sound healing that you can just access at any time from your website. Stuff like that would be really cool. So we will stay in touch. Thank you, beautiful people. Much love, everybody.